I actually want to pat myself on the back because 3 people have now read Panorama on account of me not reading it previously.
The magazine is the only thing that gets read or paid attention to less than this show. All right, we didn't say who's going to start the show off, but I'm just going to go right in there and
You're
say,
a natural. Why not?
This is my 6th podcast of the day. Because we do,
get out of here.
Usually when we do Dur or Die podcast, it's on Thursdays.
Right. Today is not Thursday. Ergo, you did 6 podcasts.
We did
I'm just wondering, my brain is racing with all the... Just give me 2 of them. Give me the 2 best ones. Okay.
Is the Bid Nerds we shot this morning. We do 5 episodes in one session. We make our predictions. And then we match those with our reconciliations of our predictions.
It's a great show, especially if you're into... Everybody likes to surf, the popular
all the
auction
automotive
websites.
Enthusiast auction sites.
Exactly. And so...
I've said it too many times. I'm just...
now you can't say it.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's intro this particular show. My name is John Polnik. This is the Dur or Die Porsche podcast. I'm here with my partner, Duane Wik.
Hello.
There he is. We've got Mental Ward back there.
Yay.
Pushing the buttons.
We love Mental.
He's just pushing buttons.
He's kind of like, that thing where can a monkey write Shakespeare with 1,000 typewriters?
Yeah.
Or is it 1,000 monkeys? Whatever.
I don't know. He has 1,000,000 tries to go and then he'll get it right.
He's got 1,000,000 buttons over there.
Does, yeah. We've got a studio audience today. We've got our friend Jason Aldean, a.k.a. Alter, in the corner.
You'll never live that down. That's your name from now on. We're getting T-shirts.
It's true. And then a very special guest. We've got Matthew Whitesell from...
Yes.
Bam! Bam what? Bam, M-Bam? What? How do you M-Bam what? In the microphone.
Just bam.
You gotta like...
Just M-Bam.
Just M-Bam what?
Matt's badass.
Get into that microphone. Yeah,
Matt's
work the
badass marketing.
Matt's badass.
I'm intrigued.
There you go.
I could use some badass marketing. So
Badass.
let's talk later.
All right, off to a great start here. What we do on this show is we talk about Porsche stuff in general, but mostly we just drink. Jason, you do not have to be quiet. It's fine. Knock yourself out. He's going for the pistachios.
Quick question.
Quick
question.
Is
it grease the wheels or is it grease the skids? Because I was reading Panorama, so I want to retract my statement last podcast, or maybe it was 2 ago, where I said I never read Panorama. That was a lie. I read Panorama. They use the term grease.
Well, hold on. At the time, you never read Panorama. But since then, you have since read Panorama.
Correct.
You weren't incorrect before, but you're updating your position.
You got me.
Have since read
I have since read Panorama. And within the fine pages of Panorama magazine, they say grease the skid. I almost said skid marks, but grease the skids. Which makes me wonder, have I been saying grease the wheels? Is that wrong? Is that a mixed metaphor? I don't know. Where are you grammar people out there?
It's not a grammar issue. It's just a
colloquialism. Yeah.
I would say that greasing the skids is to get something that is.
Where does that come from, though?
Friction.
Yeah, but
is that a military thing?
No, that's I believe that is a train thing. And then grease the wheels, of course, always goes to the adage of the.
Wait, what's a skid?
Gets the grease.
What's a skid on a train?
We
digress.
Yeah.
What is this podcast about?
It's like balls to the wall or the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Do you know what the whole 9 yards is?
Yeah.
Both of those are the
War
balls to the wall and the whole 9 yards are military.
Well, Balls to the Wall is from Accept, one of the greatest 1970s
Actually,
rock band of all
predating
time.
that, when you flew a multi-engine bomber, each of the throttles had a small wooden ball on there.
Sorry.
And when you had to make good pace, you had to put the balls to the firewall.
It's not a. Okay, I had that wrong this whole time. Then good to know.
Whole 9 yards.
Also, World War II fighter
World
planes.
War I.
Oh, I remember the second thing.
They didn't have the long belts because they would have to put the whole 9 yards into the wings.
I thought that was 9 yards belts in the trenches. No.
No, it's the wing thing. Yeah, there's something on the wing.
bunch of aviation.
The second thing I want to retract
guy,
is
he probably knows better than I would.
Of course, I know who Jeff Swart is, and
Jeff Swart,
I called him Schwartz.
Schwartz.
Why would I do that? I've met him.
Yours.
I've talked to him. I've yelled at him from across Luft. He kept walking. Point is, I know who he is. It's Jeff Swart. He has a really cool 914.
Why are we bringing up Jeff Swart?
Because I want to apologize for calling him Jeff Schwartz.
You're assuming
and then Schwartz.
anyone else has watched our show. They don't. For the record,
That's a
we
good
have like
solid
4
point,
people
JP.
who have watched, and I guarantee you they don't know.
Jason Aldean is raising his
Aldean
hand.
in the microphone, Jason Aldean.
There is something that
See,
really has been eating at me for the last 2 weeks. The
Okay.
mistake that I made about the Panorama car was not a 993 RS, but in fact, it was a 997 RS.
The red one?
About that last no.
Oh.
We said that on the cover of Panorama.
Oh, on the cover. Okay, because there's a
recent issue showing the tail, and then I went home and I actually read it like you, Dwayne, and
See,
realized how far
Wait, it was
off-
I
a
wanna pat-
997 GT3 RS. Is that what we're
it's a
talking?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I actually want to pat myself on the back because 3 people have now read Panorama on account of me not reading it previously.
I have to
So-
admit, I took a dump and I
You can
actually
admit
put the
that.
phone down and read the Panorama.
Right. Here's the thing.
For
I
the
realized
first time in like 20 years.
There's
I was
a-
like, oh, there's words in this.
there is a dead zone.
I don't know.
Yeah, with the most recent is has houndstooth seats on the just got it yesterday.
I have actually know that I have increased the readership of Panorama because after I sit at my coffee table for a little while, there's a brief interlude to my bathroom, and then I take it to the work bathroom. And I know it gets read because it gets
Fascinating.
moved around.
No,
So
nobody
yeah.
reads anything in the bathroom anymore.
Well, listen, I
look,
Can't have
more
a phone in my
people-
office.
This-
That's why we need the magazines.
The
We're only-
magazine is the only thing that gets read or paid attention to less than this show.
There's a dead zone where let's talk about my kids again. It's a weekly thing every time. Where I pick up my kids, there's a huge dead zone. I don't get it. Like that's the one time I really need to, surf the internet or whatever. So Panorama is perfect. I bring it along with me in the car. I read it cover to cover today.
He's going to talk about his kids. We're going to say smash that like button, subscribe,
There you go.
do all that stuff.
JP, this is a momentous occasion because we both bought Porsches last week,
We did. Both of us
Yeah.
bought a Porsche
which is kind of cool.
at the same time, nearly the same time.
You want to go first? Should I go
for
first?
it. No,
You go first?
you
Okay.
have to go for it, my man. I'm gonna
It's-
pour some scotch.
It is fortuitous.
For chance, do we have it on the big screen?
We don't. We don't have
Um,
technical.
Yeah, we could patch it in later.
Oh yeah. Who does the post production work on this show?
Someone who does
Later.
not want to. I bought a 914 Laguna Blue. It's a beautiful car from our friend Todd over at Trophy Performance. Shout out to Trophy. He had this car sitting there, kind of in between. Well, it was getting stripped. He was going to turn it into a GT with the wide body flares, and I think he had some crazy 3.6 or 993 motor that he was just going to make it an insane ride. Long story short, he kind of lost interest in the project. Now, this was an interesting car for him because, first of all, Todd I think, is a native. Like, he's been in Vegas his whole
Yeah.
life. That car was sold brand new, Boulder Highway, I think at an Audi Volkswagen dealership.
Was there a Porsche
In
dealership
Las Vegas.
in Las Vegas before we got it?
There was in fact a Porsche Audi dealership.
Okay.
on Boulder Highway.
Yeah. Do you know the name of it? Because I was actually...
I don't, but I ran
Clearly
across it
inferior to
recently.
Galvin Porsche, I would argue.
Yeah.
That's the like we
God.
should just call it that. Clearly inferior to the Porsche dealership that is now.
Point is, it's been a Las Vegas native car since it was imported here from
Probably
Germany.
the same dealership where the Type 181 Porsche
It could have been.
Check out Der Fascination's that's
Shameless
one of other
plug.
YouTube channels. Check out the Type 181 if you're looking for amazing
That's actually
rare Porsches.
probably
That's
my
probably where it's
favorite
from.
episode, by the way. That's a great one.
What's that? Yeah. Do watch
Yeah,
it if you speak German, actually. It was made for people who speak German, which I am not.
Did you know that it...
Unfortunately, I actually watched that before I knew you guys, and I believed the whole damn story. When he told me it was fake, I really
He cried. He went home and cried.
Jason, look, I in your defense, much smarter people than you were duped
Definitely.
by that film. I mean, like a lot of people. We were talking the head of the Type 181 registry, the owner.
He reached out to you.
Yeah,
did he not?
did. Yeah, the World Registry, the owner of God and Porsche. Right.
Me.
Not Duane, the
Okay.
owner of God and
The
Porsche,
other owner.
who
Co-owner.
is who basically I'm talking about in the whole film. The whole joke was that it was about him, and he's like, "Wow, that's amazing. JP has that car." I'm like, "It's about you. It's your." So don't feel bad. We duped everyone,
Yeah.
and we didn't mean to.
JP, did you know that it was a major undertaking to get 3 major manufacturers in Germany to come together to make the 914? And Matt, actually, you have a history in the 914 community a little bit. So it's actually interesting
Matt,
that he's here
Can you
tonight.
tell us about your 914 history? Is that
Actually,
something you want to talk about?
before you do, Matt called me up one day. He's like, "Hey, there's a 914 down there. Will you go and look at it?" So I was like, "Absolutely." Went and looked at it. He ended up buying it.
Oh, is that
Go
the
ahead,
race
Matt.
car?
It is the race car.
Did we
yeah.
go look at that together?
We did.
We did. Yeah,
You were the other guy there.
I was
Okay.
the other person.
Now I remember.
Called me first. That car was loud.
That thing was, yeah. That was a deal, though. I thought that was a good deal.
At the time,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like it was like, okay, that's a fair deal. But now,
Now it seems like a
oh
really
my
good deal.
God,
But
you
three,
spent like-
oh, the motor alone was worth what you paid. I thought that's why I was like,
Yeah,
buy this
that's
car.
true.
But it had like a built 3.0 or 3.2 or something, or 2.5, but it had
Six
Italian
cylinder.
Webers and it had dual
The
MSD.
guy who built that car originally, I tracked him down and talked to him, and his deal was he had patented the brakes for rollerblades,
Oh wow,
and then he defended it against Benetton and Reebok, and made all the money he had.
1995, he made sick money.
So he decided, I like racing these cars, and he got every cool tool he could have, and had the coolest machine shop ever, and bought whatever was the best possible part he could have, and put it on that thing.
Yeah,
And the reason why it had that big funky wide body thing on it is that guy grew up dirt track racing. So
Okay.
Robin's racing. Imagine this guy coming up against 914.
The thing-
driving your classic, and he's rubbing up against you.
yeah, that thing was awesome. But I was gonna say, Carmen, VW, and Porsche all came together and conceived the 914, basically. And it's interesting because it's like it's the only car that in Europe is a Porsche VW that I'm aware of. Is there any other car that's classified and sold as a dual badged Porsche / VW?
The 924.
Was the 924
Yeah,
a
the early
VW?
version of the 924 was also
way.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a joint project.
Yeah.
But when I lived in Germany, none of them were labeled VW. They
Yeah,
were
I
all
saw
actually labeled Porsche, but every 914 I saw in Germany in the early 90s said VW / Porsche.
I
as
have
part of the
seen
Right.
script.
Porsche 924 Volkswagen badges.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
but Carmen wasn't
yeah.
involved in the 924 body though.
that
So
I don't
this
know.
the 914
Yeah.
was the only one that kind of
Yeah.
involved those 3 major German manufacturers to create this one car, which I thought was interesting. So anyway, I bought that. You bought a car as well?
I did, but I just wanted to go back to Matthew's 914 history and the fact that we've obviously been kind of dancing around this whole. Everyone knows. I mean, if you're watching the show, you're a Porsche nerd, so you know that the 914 was together with Volkswagen,
Yeah.
or Porsche worked together with Volkswagen to make that car for the marketing. They were basically saying, okay, how do we sell a cheaper car?
Mhm.
But look, the thing that one of the things that I learned from Matt, and look, my first Porsche was a 914. I was 19 years old, and it was an absolute piece of junk. That wasn't the car's fault. It was just an abused car. It was cheap at the time.
So many of them were
Yeah.
just
Most
really
of them
abused.
were just let go because they were so cheap.
Mhm.
But Matt really kind of showed me that, in fact, these cars really, the Volkswagen side, a lot of people say, oh, it's just it's Volkswagen badge, but it's a Porsche. It's like, no, there's a lot of Volkswagen there. There are a lot of things that are not precise.
Right.
Just little body panels, imprecise decisions that they made.
I took
Porsche
apart the
never would
doors,
have done.
and the doors are completely, like, you can tell the quality difference between the door mechanisms and like my 911.
Can you speak to that, Matthew? Am I off on that? Did I learn the wrong lesson, or were you?
What was the lesson you learned? I wasn't really clear on that.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, he's saying like the parts.
914s are just Volkswagen.
914s have a lot
Porsche
of
components in them.
Well, they're more
Hold on,
VW
hold
than they
on.
are Porsche.
Hold
maybe.
on. We didn't get to hear Matthew's answer on this, and I do want to hear Matthew's answer on this because he is the expert. Why are you the expert, Matthew?
We make more parts for the 914s than anybody and supply them to Porsche.
Who is we haven't talked about who Matthew is and what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a half owner of a company called 914 Rubber, and what 914 Rubber is a passion project of my brother's. So in about 2005, he was looking for parts for a car for a father-son project, and they couldn't find any parts for him because they're not really around, and the ones that were out there were kind of garbage. And they found this site called 914 World, and 914 World is just a bunch of guys sharing on a forum. Hey, do you have this part? Where can you find that part? Hey, I've got this car. Just these guys sharing with each other, because 914s weren't supported by Volkswagen, they weren't supported by Porsche, so there wasn't really anything available for them. So at this point, you could buy a really nice 914 for $2,000. I mean, you probably get a 914-6 for $3,500. And so the guys just needed something to make the car work. It could be a garden hose as long as it worked. And so he was looking at the parts and the crap that was out there, and the guy that was selling them was still the same guy that was buying them when he was a teenager. And he goes, "This, I just got screwed on this. What can I do?" And they said, "Well, if you find someplace, let us know." And he's like, "I think I could make this." And next thing you know, he's like, "If enough people will buy it, I'll make one." So he made it. And everyone's like, "Damn, this is better than the original. Can you make this one?" So slippery slope, quite a few years later, it became this collaboration of all of these different people helping out to try and make all these different parts.
Yeah.
And he brought me in to try and figure out how can we turn this into a real business. But after about 5 years, I realized it's always going to be a hobby business. And, we kind of got a little bit of American Chopper in between the two of us. So years
You guys should have a reality show.
A lot of F-bombs. I'm off doing something that's actually productive. And I still own half of the company, but the marketing skills that I learned from that, I went off to go do my own marketing company from that. But what I was really attracted to from that thing is just the whole story about here's a car that's on the road because of the help of others, and all of these guys that made these amazing projects that are on the road that are better than these car shows. And it's only because some guy they didn't know across the country gave them something that they needed. And of course, as the cars came up in value, they became more, how do we put these things together? So I started building cars so I could figure out where the hell does this part fit and what is it really supposed to be. And so I learned a lot about these things, and I just dove into it. I didn't have any experience turning wrenches before I got into this. So it was fun for me to be able to learn these things, but the history of it was really interesting to me. So yeah, I think you got a good car there with that thing. What's really cool about the 914s, that's the funnest go-kart you've ever been in. It's not the fastest car, but it's going to corner better, it's going to have more fun, and you are not going to be able to get out of the car without a grin on your face.
I don't know if I'll be able to get into the car because I'm 6'6" and it's mid-engine. So like the seat only goes back until you hit the engine.
Okay, guys, I want to tell you about Vegas Auto Fest. The drivers are coming. This is one of our big sponsors. It's the biggest car show of the year in Las Vegas. It's one of the coolest car shows you can possibly experience anywhere. If you haven't made plans to be part of Vegas Auto Fest on September 17th, then do it now. Go to vegasautofest.com and register your car. You think you're a car enthusiast? Doesn't matter where you live. Plan a trip to Vegas on September 17th and come out and see this show. It's like Monterey Car Week all in a day. Have you ever been to the Quail? Have you ever been to Works Reunion? Have you ever been to Amelia Island? All those car shows are amazing and great. Have you been to Luftkult? Sure, but Vegas Auto Fest is something special. Make a plan for September 17th. We'll see you in Vegas. All right, so this 914 here, we do have I just threw a picture up of the 914 from your Instagram handle, and this is in its well, let's call it a difficult. It's right when you got it. It looks like it was still a trophy performance.
Yep.
So this was Todd's car.
Yeah,
from what
this
I
was his
understand.
baby, honestly. He was, going to pour a bunch of money into it. And in fact, he had right next to the car some shelving and thousands of dollars worth of Elephant Racing, 914 rubber, flares from Patrick Motorsports, everything ready to build the car into like a total, just wild ride, basically.
Yeah.
I did not get any of those parts, unfortunately. He actually, one of his customers came in and said, I want to build a 914. He's like, hey, I've got all these parts already. So
They wanted everything but
the shell. So I have the shell, and actually it's a complete car. It's just he stripped it and then he put parts in storage, and I've got to get those parts, put them back on the car, and I'm actually going to try to drive it kind of as is. It's in such great shape. Like the biggest issue with these 914s tended to be rust.
Yeah.
They weren't, really well maintained, but also I'm not sure if a lot of them were galvanized or not.
None of them were galvanized.
None of them were galvanized.
They it did come from the factory.
So that's rough. And actually, that's what's great about this car is it was, started here in Vegas. So it's been in Vegas for 46 years, which means it's hot and dry here. So that chassis is pretty solid.
And Matt, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the biggest rust area that most people know about in the 914 is the
quote unquote
hellhole.
Yeah,
under the battery where the battery leaks. So that's regardless of whether or not it's wet. That battery acid leaks down onto the inner
the
side
frame, basically.
Yeah, they would overcharge the batteries. They would bubble up. The acid would come out, and it would drip down below there and collect in the corner that was supposed to be a little gutter, but that gutter was always plugged up. With whatever.
So both of my gutters were plugged up. My detail guy actually tried to spray it out, and it was just filling up with water, and I just pushed those little rubber things right out.
That's something that people, we're old, so we remember back in the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, but people just don't realize, back in the day, you filled your battery full of water when it got low. Right?
That was a trick you could do if your battery was dead, especially in Phoenix where it's really dry, or southern Nevada. You could literally pour water into the cells.
Yeah.
5 minutes, you could start your car.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something people, millennials, have zero experience. I mean, modern batteries, you don't break a modern battery open. No way. I mean, nowadays with safety and you bubble wrapping everyone to keep them from getting
that
hurt.
and they were lead acid. Both of things are terrible for human beings.
Sure.
It would eat your arm off, basically.
But I mean, we all survived, right?
It's like RoboCop over here.
I love talking about the 70s and 80s and all the crazy stuff that we did. And we're like, it was
Shapey's
fine,
flashback
right?
corner.
Yeah, but of course, the kids that were in the backseat of the Ford Torino or whatever with no seatbelts, they're not around to say that, it was a bad idea.
That it wasn't safe.
Because they were sleeping on the rear dash or they were sitting on the the center hump, because that's what we did.
I grew
you had
up
to earn that.
Right.
Look, and it's weird because now batteries rule young people's lives. Like their phone, their car. I mean, battery is such an integral part of their day-to-day life. But anyway, the 914 battery in a terrible design spot. Clearly, so many of those, and even my car, which is extremely dry, the battery tray is all rusted out. Yeah, it's savable, but
I would, I do not want to derail this.
Oh, Mental has a 914, or he had a 914 shirt and a 914.
You are correct on both counts. In fact, I would, I think everyone in this room, maybe one, hasn't owned or does not currently own.
What a loser.
At least
who is
three
that?
of us
Let's single him out.
914s right now, and 4 of us have had them in the past.
Yep, that's true. It's a great car.
They multiply.
Well, it's kind of, it was like your entry level Porsche.
I mean,
right?
it's kind of like your friends that have
at
Fiats.
First.
You need one for parts.
At first, it was like when you were saying it was like your first car, right? Because
it wasn't my first car. No,
but it was one of your first cars.
I mean,
I think his point about they multiply, because within a month of getting my first one, I ended up with a second one, and somebody was, these are all parts cars, but you've got a 914, everybody has one of these rusting hulks sitting in their backyard.
Do you have a passenger door handle? Because I need that.
I do, and it's all yours, man.
Really?
Because I need race parts for
Matthew saying just get a new one. Just quit screwing around.
Oh, but 914 rubber doesn't have door handles though.
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well,
all right.
Then
Jason Aldean, why don't you have a 914 or have never ever had one?
Got to hand him the mic.
Well, when I was younger, I couldn't afford one.
What are you talking about? I was 19. It was $3,000.
Silver spoons.
It was less than my Jetta.
I went for the high dollar Volkswagen when I was
He wanted a
I
Corrado.
had a Corrado.
He's
140 mile an hour Volkswagen only if they drop it from a helicopter.
No,
Which
no,
I've
no,
done
Corrado-
with the 914.
no. I can attest it will do 140.
I
Downhill
think
with a
you,
taillight.
I think you're also talking a little bit of smack for a guy that had a 914 and a Scirocco.
I had many Scirocco's. I had far more Scirocco's than I have 914s.
The Rabbit and the Scirocco are fine automobiles, if I do say so
They
myself.
are.
Yeah.
Mark II Scirocco.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. Try to find one of those.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Watch
Let-
Big Nerds.
Let me wrap up this 914 story. I'm very excited about. I did not think I would be that excited about it. He offered me the car. I responded to a Craigslist ad about a 2.7 engine, and a known number, messages me
Yeah.
and says, "You want
What
my
are you
want my
doing,
motor?"
Duane?
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is your motor." So he's like, while I'm buying that motor, he also had this.
Wait, hold on. So you texted him from a Craigslist ad?
No, I responded to. I emailed the Craigslist ad, and I
emailed,
put my
okay.
phone number in it.
You didn't see his
And
because
then-
I would think if you were texting, you would see that it was him. But
Right, no.
okay,
And then
you
I get
didn't see
a
it.
message from Todd and is like,
Yeah.
"You want my motor?" And I was like, "Oh, this is your motor."
Embarrassing.
But then he showed me the 914. He said, "Hey, do you want the 914?" I was like, "Nah, I've already got so many projects, blah, blah, blah." It was just kind of marinating in the back of my head. Like, I just love the color. Like my RSR project, I'm painting Gulf Blue. This is Laguna Blue, which is I think it's a cross between Miami, which is more vibrant, and Gulf, which is kind of muted.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between there. And I was just like, and once our guy John from Detailed Auto Las Vegas, John Williams, once he buffed it out, looks amazing.
That kid's
Can we get a
amazing.
picture up there?
I
Okay.
don't have a picture of it cleaned up.
Go to 914 World. I've got a thread on there. It's called.
Well, no, the place to go is you follow Duane Wik on Instagram, and you'll see
True.
his all his stories. I mean, he's got tons and tons of content on this thing before and after. If you want to see his project, go to his Instagram page and just dig through it. It's fascinating to
And
see the before and after.
we
I'm excited
actually.
And it's
to
not
get
done,
into the
for the
parts.
record. What's
Once
that?
you get into the parts, I'm excited to see what kind of interior was really in that.
Yeah,
Because
me too.
plaid interiors are the hot thing right now.
Mhm.
And the only years that we're supposed to have plaid interiors were 75 and 76. So your
Really?
blue plaid interior could have been a couple of different choices, but I'm hoping it's Maltese.
Maltese.
I have
okay.
two Maltese. little puppies.
I consider myself a Porsche enthusiast, and I just learned something right then. That's pretty impressive.
There you
The
go.
first Porsche I ever saw in my entire life, I was probably 5 years old. The neighbor kid, I grew up in a place where it doesn't matter. There was a 914 in their driveway.
Lake Titicaca.
Very close, Lake Razagar. For those of you who know, out
There's
in
more consonants in that
Nowheresville.
than syllables, or vowels. Anyway,
So the 914, it was that. I swear to God, I mean, I always would have thought it was Mexico blue, but it was probably that color. But it was a 914. I don't know what size engine it was. I was 5. I don't remember any of those details.
Yeah.
But my friend, it was his mom's car, and he's like, my mom's car will
Dude,
go
what a cool
100
mom.
miles an hour. And I was like, 100? No way. No car goes 100 miles
And
an
then
hour.
you
That's
saw it,
impossible.
and it was shaped like an arrow, and you're like, okay, that car will go
I was
100
fine.
miles
I
per
didn't
hour.
know any of that. I just thought that was light speed and impossible.
Yeah.
So
I
who
always
knew?
talk about Mikey, our friend Mikey Patquin, who
Yep.
what you said.
Mikey Aldine.
Mikey
Everyone
Aldine.
whose
Jason's
last
younger
name
brother.
You don't know is just Aldine.
Just throw it in. He was chasing me up the crest, and he was right on my butt the entire time with that. He has a 1.7.
1.7. Yeah, there's no one faster.
And this was
than I know.
pre-rebuild. Yeah.
The professor has a 1.7 914, and that thing is just insane.
He does? I didn't know he had that.
What's that?
Mandy Patinkin is actually pretty fast in his 914.
Mandy Patinkin.
What was
You
his
know, on a
name in
previous
The Princess
episode-
Bride?
I give you my word as a
Montoya.
914
Yeah,
owner.
I got
No
to
good.
shout
I know
out
too
to
many
Matt.
914 owners.
Matthew and I cruised up the entire Pacific coast a couple years ago during the pandemic. I was in a 997 and he was in his 1.7 914, and I never lost him. He was always there. And at the end of our daily show, Bid Nerds, the closing portion of that show is me driving Matthew's 914. It was one of the best
Little known
driving
fact.
days ever.
a hitch extends from the front of the 914 and latches onto the back of the car in front of you. So I mean,
There was no
impossible
car in front of me
Oh, okay.
in that particular
That
film.
wasn't fair.
Yeah.
That's an add-on.
That 914 in particular is pretty damn quick. But no, 914s. It's where it's at. Do you guys have a 914? Have you ever had a 914? Are you a Porsche fan? Can you be a true Porsche file? Jeremy Clarkson says you cannot be a true petrolhead if you've never owned an Alpha at some point in your
Interesting.
car life. So
He's 50-50 on what he says is BS
Well,
versus like a gym. Like
you
you're
can
like, oh my god,
analyze
what he
it
just said is a
however you
gym,
like.
and then the next thing he says, you're like, that's utter crap.
Can you be a Porsche file without having owned a 914 at some point in your Porsche life? What do you guys think? Tell us in the comments
Some
below.
people have to mature to that, though.
Yeah, that's
That's a
true.
good point.
That's true. We want to know from you guys. Let us know in the comments below right after you hit the subscribe, like, and notification button so you can learn about the latest Dur or Die Porsche podcast. We do this a couple times a week. My name is John Polnik. I want to say thank you to my partner, Duane Wik.
Thank you.
Wik's Garage. Check out his YouTube channel.
And check out
Subscribe,
Porsche
like
Road
that.
Trip
Yeah.
on Maverick.
Pluto TV.
Pluto. Sorry.
Pluto TV is where Porsche Road Trip is hanging out. Go search the on-demand program is the easiest way to find it, or PorscheRoadTripTV.com will take you right there.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you to Matthew Whitesell from one of the founders of 914 Rubber, Jason Aldean, our buddy over there, Jason Alters, real name, and then Mental Ward pushing buttons over there, getting it done.
Thank you, Mental.
Check out his podcast, Everyone Racers. Everyone
Everyone
Racers,
Racers.
kind of like e-racers. Racers, Everyone Racers. Check out his podcast, subscribe and like that one as well.
Over 6,000 episodes.
They have a ton of content over there. You could,
There's quite a few.
Yeah, you could sit there. I don't know. Are there more Panorama magazines or Everyone Racers episodes? Someone's gonna have to count them up. I'm not gonna do it.
Come
Maybe
to my
you
house.
guys
You'll
will.
see the shelf
Yeah, you have a shelf of Everyone Racers.
of Panorama magazine.
That's
I do.
weird. It's a little weird.
But appreciate it. Thank you for the E1R shelf.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
See ya.